Welcome back everyone. WatchOS finally got an update yesterday or 2 days ago, it's been a minute, and we are now at WatchOS 7, which is so cool. So there's a couple new features. It wasn't like a complete redesign or anything like that, but there's some cool things added for sure that, that I might as well talk about and discuss with you guys. Now, what I will tell you though is that you will have to, I think, be on the iOS 14 beta profile in order to install it, but I could be totally wrong. But even then, what I will tell you is with any beta software, I would not recommend installing it on your main device. So whether it's an iPad, iPhone, or even an Apple Watch, I just wouldn't recommend it. I have to install it because I have to talk about it for you guys to watch this video and have to, get the experience with it to talk about it. But before that, I would not recommend anybody installing it on any device. Now, if you have a side iPhone or a side Apple Watch or something, then 100% by all means. If you're okay with breaking it possibly, then, it's totally okay. But for something that you're using every day, I would 100% recommend not installing it. It's just not worth it. It's cool and all. There's going to be some cool features. But even with WatchOS 7, it's a less of an update than I even think WatchOS 6 was, in my opinion. It's still going to be a great update. It's still going to bring a lot to the table. But I think between all the softwares that were released, macOS, tvOS, watchOS, iPadOS, and iOS, I think iOS probably got the biggest update, then followed by macOS, then iPadOS, then watchOS, then tvOS, in my opinion. So with all that being said, let's go and get into it. Now, the very first thing that watchOS 7 brings, which I think is extremely awesome, is sleep tracking. So it'll actually determine, I think, how long you sleep, how much you move, and all that stuff. There's a bunch of different settings that you can actually look at, which is really cool. Now, unfortunately for me, I just can't fall asleep with an Apple Watch. I just can't do it. I have to put it away. I have to take everything off and just kind of sleep. I still keep my clothes on, obviously, but I just can't sleep with the Apple Watch. I don't know why, but I can't go the rest of my day without it. So it's weird, but you now have that ability, which is so awesome. So before, that was one thing that people would use their iPhones for, download certain apps to, sleep their track their sleeping and all that. But now we have it natively built in within our watch. So for those of you who already sleep with your watch on and all that, you have this capability now, which is really awesome. So I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest highlights within watchOS 7 for sure. Now within watchOS 7 as well, we have this new little battery features little thing. So the very first thing is battery health. So for those of you who don't know, batteries do degrade over time. It happens with everything. It happens with phones, with MacBooks, with whatever, literally hand tools. Batteries degrade over time. It just happens. And our watches, experience that too. They have batteries built in. Batteries do get better and better over time, so they don't degrade as much as they used to. We find better technology and everything, but they're still going to degrade. So I'll give you an example with my first Apple Watch. When I first bought it, battery life was great. A couple years later, it wasn't so great anymore because, batteries. So now we actually have the ability to see how much battery health we have, and it's usually out of 100%, obviously. So if you're at like 60% battery health, then yeah, battery health is probably pretty bad. But if you're still at 100 or even over 90, then you're pretty much set. So we now have the ability to see it. But the thing is that we can't really replace the battery super easily on our watches. So I'm curious to see why Apple even gave us this. And I think we have it on our AirPods now too. We can see the battery health on those. So I'm not really too sure what Apple's trying to do, but obviously they're trying to make us upgrade more often. But that's one of the features, right? The battery health. But now we actually have the ability for optimized charging as well. And this was a feature that Apple brought in iOS 13 for iPhones. And pretty much what it is that it'll charge your device. So it'll charge your iPhone or your Apple Watch or your AirPods, whatever. It'll pretty much charge it as fast as possible as it can to 80%, and then it'll trickle charge up to about 100%, which is great. It'll just take a little bit longer for it to charge fully, but you can enable this or disable this as far as I know, which is totally okay. But I would recommend enabling it unless you have some other reason to not to. And it'll actually get smarter over time. So it'll determine, okay, well, you sleep usually around, 11:30 p.m. and then you wake up around 7:30 a.m. or whatever. And it'll determine that over time. And it'll actually charge it based on, your sleeping patterns or whatever. So I know that's how it works on iPhones. That's probably how Apple's going to do it for Apple Watches as well. So that's a really cool thing as well. Now we have some new complications as well. So basically new widgets that we can add to the front screen. Now one of the cool ones is astronomy. So it's basically like the moon phases and all that stuff. I know nothing about astronomy. I know nothing about astrology. I know nothing about all this stuff. I barely look at my horoscope. But what I know is that we have that new cool feature. So for those of you who are into it, you have that capability, which is really cool. We have this camera remote complication as well. So basically it'll just showcase, the camera features. So basically it'll just show you the camera remote and you can click on it and take a picture. I'm sure that's how it works. So we now have that capability too, which is cool. We have this new one that's really interesting, which is this shortcuts complication, which I think is a Siri shortcuts complication. It looks exactly the same. And it has some pre-built shortcuts already within it. Some things like turn off Wi-Fi or turn on Wi-Fi, something like that. So you can just click on it and do it from there, which is cool. So you don't have to swipe up and do it manually all the time. You can just click on the complication, go from there. And I think that's a really awesome thing too. We have this new sleep complication as well, which is cool. You just get to see your sleep patterns and, more sleep data that you have. And I think this whole sleeping thing that Apple has done is probably going to change the way a lot of people do things, which I think is really awesome. And it makes me think, is Apple going to start making like super comfortable like sleep bands? I mean, we have exercise bands. Is Apple going to make bands that you can switch out and have more of a comfy sleep with your Apple Watch? It makes you think. We also have some new world clock complications as well, which is really cool, which I could have sworn we already had these. I could have sworn, but I'm probably totally wrong. Who knows? I'm wrong all the time. But those are some of the new complications that we have, which is really cool. And I got to think of another word to say besides which is very cool, because I say that all the time. We also have some new watch faces as well. So there's 2 of them as far as I know. There's one that looks really nice. There's the other one that looks kind of similar that we've already kind of had, but it's still really good. As you can see, they both look pretty good. Watch faces, I mean, with me personally, I've been using the same modular watch face for so long that I'm so used to it by now. But for those of you who want to switch it up a little bit, you now have that capability. You can see the watch face that is on right now is pretty nice. I think it looks pretty cool. The other one is also pretty good too. So it really just depends which one you like. Do you like the first one? Do you like the second one? Me personally, I kind of like the first one more. It kind of looks more, I think, I don't know, it looks a little bit more different, but the second one looks more modular to me, and that's the one I use every day. So just another one of those things that I really do like. Now, cycling was also added to health. So before, I guess if you were biking or whatever, that didn't necessarily pick up within the Apple Watch exercise app, but now you actually have that, which is really cool. Now, this other thing, which I don't know what to call this, because it's interesting, it's, I think, important, but it's one of those things that is so current that I don't know how much longer it's going to be. I don't know. This is basically the hand washing functionality within Apple Watches. So basically, the Apple Watch will determine how long you wash your hands, and it will tell you how many times you washed your hands too. So I think, it's important. I think it's really cool, and I really don't have anything against it, but I just don't know. I just think it's like one of those things that is kind of going to be kind of like a meme for a little while. It's going to be like, oh, how many times did you wash your hands? How many times did you wash your hands today? Check it, watch. But I think it's still cool. I think, it's definitely current to this day and age. And I think, it's super important. So, but it automatically detects when you're washing your hands, which is really interesting, which makes me think like if you're like taking a shower or if you're like swimming, will it determine if you are in the water, if you're washing your hands or whatever? I don't know. I guess that's something to figure out. I don't even think people should be wearing their watches in the shower anyway, but that's a whole different story. Now, this next thing is actually super interesting. So we can now pick watch faces complications from third-party developers. So let's say we want something from the health app. I don't even know how this works completely, but we can basically get complications from other third-party developers and bring them to our watch face, which is really cool. So I don't know what this entails. I think this will be definitely developed over time. It's definitely not perfect right now, but it's still a really awesome thing that we have that capability on our watch. Before, our watches were so, focused on just being our own thing, of being so like secure and so many different things. Like Apple really kind of, put our things in a box and didn't let anybody do anything. But now Apple is actually kind of opening it up, which I think is very interesting and very, very important as well. So that's definitely an important one right there. And the last one that I want to hit on is actually the sharing of watch faces. So let's say I have a really cool watch face and you come up to me and you're like, oh bro, can you share that with me? I want it. We now have the capability with WatchOS 7 to share our watch face. We don't have to necessarily go and rebuild it every single time. And I think this is actually really cool. And, a lot of people, including me, like sometimes I'll wear one watch, sometimes I'll wear another, if I'm being honest. And it kind of feels nice to just have that capability of just, oh, okay, like I'm going to this one. Let me just share the watch face because maybe I changed some things here and there. So that's a really important one right there too. Again, it's not perfect, but it's a really good one. And I think it's a really cool feature within WatchOS 7. Now, some really important things I have to say. First of all, things like battery life and, stability and all that. It's definitely not perfect right now. As you guys may have already guessed it, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be lots of problems. There's going to be lots of little things like that. But over time, it'll get better and better. I think right now, iOS is probably the least stable out of all the things that I've tested, including macOS. That's probably up there too. but WatchOS is pretty stable for the most part. But things like battery life, things like stability, things like bugs, random crashes, it's going to happen within WatchOS 7. I'd recommend waiting until the official beta comes out or until the official version comes out. That's only a couple months away, so it's totally up to you. But those are some of the new features within WatchOS 7. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely hit the like button. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button as well. That'll mean so much. Check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.